Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about exploration as a gameplay loop and really kind of talk about the potential pitfalls of what this gameplay loop could be. Right now, there is a lot of speculation about what exploration could actually be like when the game comes out. But in my opinion, it's going to be one of the last professions to be added to the game in an official capacity. Of course, right now there is unofficial exploration gameplay loops that players can be involved in, but I want to talk about all of that in today's video and kind of go over some of the specific features that a lot of exploration ships have, or the specific exploration ships that you see on screen here, and kind of go over what those features kind of mean and the implications that it could have on the game. Okay, because in a previous video I talked about how do capital ships make money and whatnot, and exploration is one of those professions that I think talking about it and exploring what the actual gameplay loop looks like makes a lot of sense from the player base's standpoint. I think a lot of people question what CIG is going to do about this profession to really make it, fulfilling. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the game itself because Star Citizen is a little bit different than other games that have space exploration as a primary gameplay loop. I'm talking about games like No Man's Sky. I'm talking about games like uh, Elite Dangerous, and I'm talking about games even like Starfield. Okay, and the primary difference between those games and Star Citizen is that those games, in my opinion, have a lot more procedural content. Those games have a lot more planets and space uh, for players to essentially explore. The way that they're designed is a little bit different than Star Citizen. Star Citizen's game is kind of already predefined, and basically all of the star systems in Star Citizen's universe are have kind of been already explored. And again, this is something that I also talked about in a previous video about CIG potentially changing the law of many of the star systems that, might come out in the future. Kind of give them an opportunity to essentially uh, allow the players to learn and explore more about these systems. But in reality, a lot of these systems have been in the Empire or known of by the Empire for hundreds of years. So more than likely, a lot of these locations are not new virgin territory. These are places that, not to say that people have been there before, but there are going to be a lot of places, primary locations that have been explored by humans. Again, even our own planet Earth, we haven't explored, nearly 50% of the oceans. There is still a lot to explore even on Earth in our own solar system. So there will still be places for players to find and explore. But that kind of brings us to the next kind of, I would say, kind of design fault about Star Citizen is that it is, uh, it's not it is a sandbox. It's not a theme park game, but the world that Star Citizen exists in is kind of like a theme park because you have these specific kind of set dressings and these locations, and because the entire solar system of Stanton and Pyro is designed around these fixed locations that everyone essentially has access to, it kind of leads you to a first come first explored type of situation where you will have locations in the game that people, have understood, uh, especially when the game comes out, because right now Star Citizen is an alpha, right? And a lot of people are waiting for the game to fully come out to play it. But the problem that you kind of run into in that situation is that you have these millions of people that have been playing it for years before a lot of new people come in. So, strictly speaking, a lot of the points of interest that are kind of predefined by CAG will have, you know, majority of them been fully explored by the player base. And you know, CIG is always adding new locations, points of interest for the players to explore and get into. These are things like, the Stanton Pyro jump point wreckage. CIG can add new things like this that players can go and explore and potentially find things there. I don't know entirely what their plan is with these things, but you know, they could put unique formations, rock phenomenon in the air and Halo belt, and players could essentially go to this asteroid belt and find these unmarked points of interest by quantum linking and quantum boosting. And I think that is going to be kind of a key mechanic that allows players who are interested in exploration gameplay to essentially get around faster. That is, I think, one of the biggest drawbacks with the kind of on rails quantum system that we currently have is that you have to kind of just go to specific points of interest that are marked out by the map, and you're not free to just go wherever you want. And so I think a big key thing that's going to open up exploration gameplay for a lot of people who, want to see something off in the distance and just go there is the ability to quantum boost and just go out to those locations. You see something, you fly towards that thing. Um, but I think that when CIG gets in a system, and they kind of talked about this previously with the map update, is that they want to allow players the ability to drop their own markers and pins and trade and sell that between each other. And that is going to be, in my opinion, a huge part of exploration. So the first thing that's going to open up exploration for a lot of people is quantum boosting, because you can just see different locations, phenomenon in space, what have you, and just boost straight towards that thing. Okay, so that's going to be huge. The second thing I think is going to be, you know, giving the players the ability to make their own markers, make their own unique locations. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these planets, they are massive. Okay, there's tons of places all over the surface of them that has not been fully explored. And what is interesting about all of this real estate is that there could be points of interest that it's not just, designed by CAG, a derelict outpost, a derelict settlement, whatnot. Players could, put up makeshift locations. CIG can open that gameplay loop up to say, okay, maybe a player finds a vein, a certain resource, what have you. They can also mark that, and sell that information. So if you're looking at the ability to have exploration in the game, I think the second most critical mechanic that CIG needs to enable is players' ability to drop pins or markers and sell and trade them between other players. Okay. The second thing is, or the third thing, I mean, is a player's ability to make their own points of interest. Now, uh, things like base building, with again, like I said, with the way the game is with Star Citizen, uh, a lot of the points of interest already exist and are known about and marked out on your map, and you can just kind of fly straight to it. So that kind of leaves a situation where there's really all of the interesting things to explore is kind of like already laid out, And with things like caves and rivers and whatnot, other explorers, they will have kind of already found these locations. And you can look up guides and videos on YouTube and all that stuff about how to get to them. And it's kind of less of that, oh, I just stumbled across this, this new river, this new lake, maybe there's a geyser, maybe there's a cave, it has valuable stuff in there. Stumbling across these things on the surface of planets, and being the first one there or whatnot, being able to drop a pin to it and sell it to other people who are potentially interested in that, you know is a huge part of what the experience that people who are interested in exploration want. That's the experience that they want, being first to this location, kind of being able to claim it and mark it and sell it, and kind of put their own mark on the game. And that's kind of the biggest thing with games like Elite Dangerous, is finding a new star system, being able to name it and claim it and do all that type of stuff. That fantasy in the gameplay loop is what a lot of people who play Star Citizen kind of want. They want kind of that, being able to live out that fantasy of being a first to a unique location, being able to put their mark on it. So giving giving the player the ability to put their mark on a location, to say this person found it or whatnot. I don't entirely know how CHG is going to do that. So that's kind of the fourth thing. So yes, you're going to need to be able to uh, quantum boost anywhere. You're going to need to uh, be able to drop a pin or a marker. You're going to be able to base build, put down uh, little shelters, maybe put down like an emergency shelter. Once in a while you see emergency shelters on the surface of planet. Maybe players can put these down, put beacons to them, and litter them all over planets. Because at the end of the day, there are going to be some areas where you don't need a land claim to build. So you might just put down some small structures, barricade, build like a little tent or something, and somebody stumbles across, like, oh, what, a player put all this stuff on a planet, I just found it. That is kind of also the dream that CIG kind of sold with PES, persistent entity streaming, that you'll be able to put down all this stuff on a planet and it'll just kind of persist there on the server. Again, I feel like after a while, a lot of that stuff will have to get cleaned up because it will severely bog the game down. But if CIG can create some type of back end ledger or database where essentially all of these, when a player puts something down, for instance, like a campsite, that if there's nobody in that area, it streams out or it just stops existing. And then when a player comes close to it, this catalog or database will find what should be in that area, and it will just add it back to the planet. If they could create a system like that, that would be incredibly cool, because it would mean you could put stuff down anywhere, and instead of it persisting on the server forever, it could just like get deleted, get cleaned up. But if a player comes near it, like this system is always running in the background saying, okay, well, we gotta look at our back catalog of things that should be in this area and then populate it as a player gets close. I think that will be very interesting. Again, I'm not saying that CIG is working on something like that, but I think that would be a cool feature. And then again, of course, the ability to name and claim the places that you found. So not just putting down a beacon or a marker, essentially saying that a system that kind of tracks the map and how players use the map. So you see in ships like the Carrack and the Odyssey, and even the 400i, the 600i, they have large maps and globes and stuff like that. And so what CIG could create is a unified or global map system, to where right now, even CAG has the ability to track all the players where they are and whatnot. So what they could essentially do is use that same player tracking statistical software and essentially put a like a a a flag system where a player who's in that area first could essentially put down a flag and say, you know, Space Wanderer 217 was the first person at this cave. And so they can really put their mark on that part of the game. And I feel like that would be huge for exploration. But let's get into these ships a little bit more and kind of talk about what features they specifically have that kind of gives us a hint into what the exploration gameplay loop is going to look like. So, on ships like the Cutter Rambler, it has a little bit more creature comforts. So this is a mark of a exploration ship, is that exploration ships have a little bit more creature comforts. Place to sit down and eat, you know, bathroom, beds, a suit locker. They have a little bit more interior space to walk around. Um, so the Rambler kind of gives us a hint that with exploration, you're going to be the type of person who lives on your ship. So if you're living on your ship again, that kind of gives us a hint, because if you're putting more creature comforts on exploration ships, it means that you kind of expect players to be on their ship for longer. And again, it makes sense. If you're in space exploring, you're going to be on your ship, and be spending less time at landing zones, less time at space stations. So it makes sense to have more space, more creature comforts. So that's one feature of an exploration ship. And it's something that basically all of these ships share. Then you have ships like the 315P, okay? It has the tractor beam, it has more cargo space, but again, it has those good creature comforts because it's an origin ship. And that great fuel system that Origin has, that air technology. And so that's kind of another feature of exploration ships, is that they have uh, decent cargo, and they have you know uh, aside from just creature comfort, they have more fuel, they have more range. And again, it makes sense because you're spending more time in space, you're going to need more fuel. You spend less time at landing zones, less time at space stations, you're going to need more fuel. So more creature comfort, more fuel, and good cargo, some utility. uh, you look at ships like the Dur has a lot of fuel tank. It has that refinery as well. So the Dur has the ability, it has that hydrogen fuel scoop. It can kind of make its own fuel. So again, fuel is a big thing with exploration ships. Then you have ships like the Zeus ES, okay? This ship has more shields. So defense is also something that, a lot of exploration ships also share. So more than likely, it is also a potentially dangerous profession. CAG expects, there to potentially be, lots of PvE, maybe a little bit of PvP with the shield and armament that exploration ships have. Another great example of that is the Corsair. Again, creature comforts. Every crew member has their own room, but it has a lot of guns, has a lot of turrets. It also has good cargo. It has an armory on board. Okay, multiple exits. That's also something that is kind of a priority with exploration ships. You see that with the Corsair, it has an elevator that goes down to the bottom, up to the roof, has that back ramp, and it also has, the docking collar on the side. So the Corsair has a lot of features, again, that kind of lend itself to exploration. You look at something like the Constellation Aquila as well. A lot of good guns, but also good visibility. Again, you look at these other ships here. The Color Rambler has good visibility, 315p. The Dill has that letterbox slat. It's not the best visibility. Uh, the Zeus, the Zeus is looking like it's going to have great visibility. Corsair as well. The Aquila, they completely changed the canopy on the Aquila uh, from the other ships in the Constellation series to have that increased visibility. Then you have ships like the 400i, which also takes into account, an extra vehicle garage, for a small bike. Also, the larger components. So having again not just shields but more component durability because you're going to be away for a long time. Redundancy, that might be a priority. I know military ships have component redundancy as a priority. That also makes sense for exploration. If you're out away for a long time and one component fails, you really want that redundancy there so you're not high and dry. And we have ships like the 600i Explorer. This ship is going to get a major rework, and this ship is going to have a lot of cargo. And on these larger exploration ships, what the real priority as well is going to be medical. Okay, so when you're out away for a long time, you're more likely going to get injured. So you're going to need the ability to heal yourself, regenerate, come back. CIG has recently changed the medical gameplay loop uh, to allow respawning. I don't know if they're going to keep that long term, but it looks like that's definitely going to be a priority as well with exploration. Then we have a ship like the Carrack, which is which basically has it all. Has a drone bay. It has a repair station. We're talking the potential of crafting here. It has that hangar on top, so you can have your small snub vehicle, so you can explore the surface of planets and get those drop pins and sell it and stuff like that. It has a med bay, so you could regenerate on the ship. That's a huge thing for a lot of players. It has a lot of cargo, competitive with other cargo ships in this similar size, and it has a lot of creature comforts, stuff like a pool table, whole captain's quarters, double decker bridge, great visibility from the Carrack, has a lot of guns. It really checks all the boxes across the board. Whole cartography deck, a lot of exterior exits so you can walk around the top of the ship. It does only have that ramp down at the front, but a lot of people have speculated the potential for a bit of a rework with Carrack. I don't know how many people want that, but of course the priorities have changed in Star Citizen with the cargo update coming out very soon. CIG is going to have to do something about the Carrack's cargo modules at some point because they're just not designed for how the cargo gameplay loop is going to be moving forward. And we also don't know what the Carrack's modules are going to be because, again, remember, this is a modular ship, just like the Retaliator that recently just got dropped and updated with modularity. So I'm really excited to see what kind of modules the Carrack could actually get to expand the exploration gameplay loop. Then we have ships like the Odyssey, which is also a great all-arounder. Again, medical bay. Each crew member has their own room. Again, creature comforts. A larger hangar. You have a small hangar versus an extra small hangar. Okay. And the Odyssey has the ability to mine its own fuel as well. Hydrogen and quantanium. It can get its own fuel. It has a refinery on the inside. It also has, a bit of a map area, a bit of a viewing deck at the back. I think the hollow map is up here in the cockpit. It has decent guns. You know, on it, it's not designed to, be a gunship, but you're also looking at capital components in the Odyssey. So you have big shields on this, good component sizes to be able to, power this ship. And I think that's in part to the refinery on board. Maybe you need those capital components to run the refinery. You have decent cargo. You have, again, vehicle storage on there. This ship is a good all-rounder, really designed to stay out for a long time. And that's kind of what I bring with the scenario of, maybe there are anomalies in asteroid belts or far areas of space where, for instance, if there is something like, the Stanton Pyro jump point wreckage site in the Air and Halo belt, really the only ship that's best equipped to explore those parts of the Air and Halo belt is a ship like the Odyssey, with its ability to mine its own quantanium and then quantum boost all around the asteroid belt and find these places. and potentially, you know, these places could potentially be good mining locations. So you could, drop beacons and make mining claims and sell that to prospector miners, Orion miners, Arastra miners. So the Odyssey might really be a very critical ship for these asteroid belt mining operations, to be able to stay out in the asteroid belt for weeks at a time, really just finding all of the good mining spots. So I'm really interested in the Odyssey. I think it's a really fascinating ship. Um, but then we move on to something like the Endeavor, which is another modular ship, has a lot of cargo. But other than that, if you don't have any modules equipped, this ship really just leans into those modules. You have interesting modules like, the kind of farming module where it has those domes with the plants in them. Uh, Really, we don't know what that gameplay loop is going to look like. How are you making money doing that? Okay, is that an efficient, effective way of making money in this game? Is farming in these domes, or is it for research, or is it for crafting? Maybe there are only certain plants that you have to grow in space, uh in a ship like the Endeavor, and they can, create useful consumables, maybe in different things like, regeneration. Then you have kind of the super collider, which is designed to overclock components. This will be huge in kind of the career of repair and, tuning ships for racing and whatnot. And then you have things like the telescope. Now, Telescope is really interesting because with this game, again, like I said earlier in the video, it is kind of a situation where everything kind of already exists. So it means that CSG would have to populate open space with random anomalies that you could potentially find with this telescope. So I'm really interested in how that gameplay loop is going to look like and how you could make money doing that. Maybe you might be able to find anomalies in asteroid belts like the Aaron Halo, and then sell that information to the Odyssey, and the Odyssey could go out there and pinpoint and find exactly the coordinates of this thing. Then the Odyssey will drop a pin to this, mining claim, and then the prospectors could come in and mine it. So who knows? It could create a gameplay loop that kind of, where everything comes full circle and where everything ties in. And at the end of the day, that's how you make a game, is you tie all of these careers and professions together to make a kind of cohesive thing. Then there's kind of the medical version of the Endeavor where it has with like a whole hospital. So uh, this is an interesting exploration ship because to me it focuses on utility more than anything else. I really wouldn't say it's designed to stay out there and just find places, but especially with that telescope module, that to me is kind of like core to exploration. It's kind of the only ship that has that feature on it. So the Endeavor could be potentially incredibly powerful, incredibly useful when the game comes out. But I think that it's really going to come down to the tech that CAG enables in the next couple of months, in the next couple of years. Again, things like being able to quantum boost, being able to put down markers for locations, being able to put down your own custom locations, base building, being able to be the first one at a location, claim it, put your name on it, put a flag down, whatever have you. And again, that system's kind of inherently implemented with the land claim beacon system. You put down this beacon and claim your land. So they can make a similar system like that, but instead of claiming your land, you just kind of say that, hey, I found this place. You don't need to own it. You just want to say that you want to put your mark on it in some way, shape, or form, and then you can sell the locations, the data, for instance, to someone else. Maybe that might, open up a career loop for data running. You find this information, you sell it to a secure data runner or something like that, and you know they take a piece of the pie, a percentage of the sale of the information. I think there's a lot of potential here, and I think that's really why most people are excited about exploration, because it has a ton of potential. It really comes down to the technology that CIG brings online to make it happen. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What potential pitfalls do you think could come from exploration in this game? How much money do you realistically think you could make doing this career over something like combat or trading or mining? Do you think it's going to be more lucrative than those careers? I really want to hear what you guys think, because to me, exploration is one of the most exciting career loops in this game. But that's going to be it for me here today, you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me again. I love hearing from you guys, reading the comments. But like I always say in these videos, you guys, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Salute.